All right, hello everyone, happy Wednesday and welcome to our annual Amazon Prime Day 2023 prep panel. We are thrilled to be hosting today's panel in conjunction with our partners Ecom Engine, Salsify, and Extensive. So let's get right into it. The first is to dive into some logistics before I dive into content. So first is everyone's favorite question. The recording and slides from today's session will be in your inbox shortly after the session today once they process in the system. And so not to fret, you'll have all of those by end of day, depending on what time zone you're in. And then also you can log back in anytime over the next hour or so of our panel discussion with that same link that has been in your calendar hold and in your inboxes. Also, we have a great resource, as we mentioned in our promotion and in your confirmation emails. Our Prime Day checklist is available in the handouts portion. And so if you go over to the dashboard to your right and toggle from chat to handouts, you'll be able to download that. It is an awesome resource of everything you need to know of how to be prepared for Prime Day. Also, as many of you have already, join our chat, introduce yourselves, let us know where you're tuning in from. We've got everyone from Costa Rica to Alberta, Canada, Minneapolis, I think I saw Jacksonville somewhere. So from all corners today tuning in. Also, as you have questions that come up for our speakers during your panel discussion, you can put those in the chat and then we'll tee those up for our Q&A that we'll do at the end. Also, make sure to join our poll questions. We have 2 live and one of which we'll get to in a moment. And the second of which, if you're interested in talking with any of our teams after the session today. Finally, I'll introduce myself. My name is Carrie Mallett and I'm a content strategist here at Tenuity, and I'll be hosting our webinar today. So a little about Tenuity for those who may not be familiar. Here at Tenuity, we've mastered the media that matters most. Tenuity is the largest independent performance marketing firm across streaming TV and the triad of Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Here at Tenuity, we understand that success requires both strategy and channel specialization. That approach wins us awards and recognition across the industry, such as the American Business TV Awards and the Shorty Awards, and allows us to grow some amazing clients like those that you see here. All right, I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic speaker lineup to introduce themselves, starting with our moderator, Eric.
Hi everyone, Eric Eisner, excited to be moderating today. I'm a team strategist here at Tenuity on our Amazon search team. I've been a part of Tenuity for just over 2 years now, and in the Amazon world for about 8 years, based out of Seattle, Washington.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Nations. I'm a specialist here at Tenuity focusing on Amazon. I've been at Tenuity just under 3 years and I'm located in San Diego, California.
Hi there, my name is Olivia Frere. I'm the Director of Brand Strategy at Extensive. I've been here about 6 months. I've been in e-commerce for a little over 15 years. Thanks so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Becky Trowbridge. I'm the Digital Marketing Manager at Ecom Engine. I've been here for about 6 years and really love working with Tenuity, and we're excited to be here.
Hello, my name is Justin King. I have a pretty cool title, and that is Chief Evangelist at Salsify. That just means I'm out there making disciples of the world for the cause of the digital shelf within Salsify. So really happy to be here and share what we know about Amazon Prime Day.
Well, we are thrilled to have you all joining us today. And so we are now going to have each of our partners introduce a little bit about their companies.
Thanks so much. So happy to talk a little bit about Extensive. We really work hard to connect our brands and 3PLs to help them create more flexible and reliable fulfillment networks. So we have order management and warehouse management platforms, as well as integration management platforms that make it really easy for our brands' customers to connect with their 3PLs, also helping brands and 3PLs connect to other fulfillment networks as well. So thanks so much for having me again.
In Ecom Engine, we've been around since, 2007, but Feedback 5, our flagship tool, has been around since 2009. We pioneered the feedback request, and then we've evolved a lot over time with request to review automation. So we do a lot of feedback and review management. We also have listing alerts, so you can look for search suppressed listings, which is important with Prime Day coming up. You want to make sure that everything is okay with your listings. And we also have a new hijacker alert. And then we have another tool, Restock Pro, which is to help with FBA inventory management.
So when consumers make decisions, they make decisions based off of their own problem that they're trying to solve, but they also make it based off of the information they see on a product detail page or on the digital shelf on an Amazon.com or other retailers. And so how does a brand or supplier or manufacturer maintain that content, that product content at all their different retailers? That's the problem Salsify has solved of how do you manage the product experience, all the content and data around a product that help consumers make a decision. How do you manage that at scale on the digital shelf? And that's what Salsify does. We help brands and suppliers win on the digital shelf.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing a little bit about your companies. So I'm going to walk through our agenda. It's pretty simple today. We're going to have our panel discussion where we're going to talk about what you need to be doing before, during, and after Prime Day. And then finally, we'll have time at the end for our panel to answer your questions as well. But before we get into all that, I want to hear from our audience. I know some of you have answered already. What is your biggest concern about Prime Day this year? Is it perhaps that your ad campaigns are reaching their ideal customers? Is it more limited budgets? Is it that making sure your operational aspects are in order? Or perhaps if your biggest concern doesn't fit into those three categories, let us know in the chat. So answers are coming in. It looks like operational aspects have been most popular. About 48% of respondents saying that operational aspects are their biggest concern. And again, as a reminder, you can toggle over from chat to polls in order to answer the question. And then followed up by making sure ad campaigns are reaching the ideal customers. And then more limited budgets actually being third, which I am surprised by given a lot of economic concerns right now. All right, well, I am going to go off camera and hand it over to Eric to kick off our panel discussion.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all for joining us today. We're super excited to have such a great panel of industry experts here to talk all things Prime Day and hopefully answer some of the questions all of you guys are having around preparing for Prime Day, what to expect on the big day, and what we can take from Prime Day going forward in the following weeks and months. That said, let's get into it. Prime Day is rightfully one of the biggest e-commerce events of the year. There are so many pieces that go into making the right play for a successful event. So panelists, let's start broad and talk about what you think is the best approach to Prime Day. Keeping it brief, just try and do 30 seconds or less. I'll pass it over to Danielle to start.
Yes. So if you haven't already, I would definitely start trying to pick out what your focus products are going to be. Assemble that list of ASINs and then center deals around those specific products.
Absolutely. Becky, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the things that is key is making sure that your inventory is in stock. And something new this year is the FBA capacity limits. So if you do have a product that sells at a high volume, it might be worth considering bidding for additional storage space because you definitely don't want to run out. You're probably going to see magnified demand for seasonal items, especially I think in the summer, people are looking for things to do outside. So you might have a product that's just going to really skyrocket. So be aware of that and then make sure your listings are retail ready and up to date.
Yeah, I think retail readiness is absolutely key for a day like Prime Day, making sure that we have great content on PDPs, reviews are in good shape, making sure that customers can get educated on your products as much as possible when they're going and doing their shopping. Justin, I would love to hear what some of your insights.
I think it's interesting because I think it's setting expectations internally is probably could be one of the most important things you do. And a couple of the expectations that I would set are, Prime Day is not for profit and Prime Day is not necessarily for Amazon. What I mean by that is, Prime Day is a way of getting eyeballs and customer acquisition on hero products. It's about introducing your product to the masses typically. It's not typically a profitable day or drives a lot of profit. I mean, everybody tries to make profit, but it's not for the purpose of that. It's for setting up the rest of the time. In addition to that, there's a lot going on Prime Day that's not Amazon. So really approaching this maybe a little closer to how you'd approach Black Friday with the other retailers, whether if you're in, the Walmart, Target.coms of the world, or the maybe Tools, the Home Depot, Lowe's of the world, everybody's participating in this and really kind of looking at a overall strategy there.
Yeah, I absolutely love that you brought up expectation setting there. I know we're going to talk later on how we look at and judge what is successful on Prime Day, but I think with lead-in being such an important piece of Prime Day itself, making sure that we know going in what our goals should be, what we should expect coming out of the event itself, knowing, like you said, that it's not so much of a day towards profitability, but brand awareness and driving impressions onto detail pages. Olivia, would love for you to round
Sure.
us out.
So I think adding to what both Danielle and Justin said is being crystal clear on what products you're promoting during Prime, and internally making sure that you are prepared operationally for the lift of sales, both for products that you're selling on Amazon during Prime and outside of Prime. So making sure that your warehouses are ready, that your inventory is distributed properly, and that you have the inventory to support that growth of sales is pretty critical. We talk a lot about making sure your listings are ready. What I think a lot of people miss is the internal work that has to happen to make sure that operationally you're able to support what happens during Prime. And like Justin said, use that as something you can build on for peak season in Q4.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think the elephant in the room this year is the recession challenges, inflation, some of the economic trends that we're seeing just across the industry as a whole, with brands operating on leaner budgets than in previous years. Panel, how do we think brands can get the most bang for their buck this year on Prime Day? Justin, I'll go to you first.
I mean, part of this is the recession is a little overplayed. Not the facts of not the data behind it, because it's here obviously, but I think while some of the customers that I've seen have pulled back, the majority of them have actually increased their spending. They see this as an opportunity to grow, and they're focused more on things like, and I think the poll shows this, right? Make sure my operational aspects are in order. People are focused more on the efficiency and the operational side than the spending, because they've already shown results by spending here. They've shown returns in the past, and they believe they're going to get returns this year. It may not be the same returns. So I don't see a lot of people pulling back, but from a practical standpoint, I mean, the one thing that you have to do and you have to deal with is you have to make sure you don't have any shortcomings when it comes to inventory. Inventory has to be addressed ASAP early. There's deadlines coming up real soon with Prime Day, if they haven't passed already. You just got to make sure, especially your hero SKUs, that you have your inventory strategy locked up well before Prime Day comes.
Yeah, and I think something I would add on to that, because the inventory call out is a really big one. Something I would add on to that is having a plan B, just in case the items that you're featuring, that you might have a lightning deal or best deal, any other coupons that you're running, if they happen to go out of stock, what are you going to do to backfill them? I think that's especially critical on a day like Prime Day, when we know traffic is so much higher than normal. Danny, do you have any other insights you want to add in there?
I do, yes. I think agreeing completely with Justin that having a sound operations strategy is key to ensuring success on Prime Day. Looking specifically at ad budgets, I think if you can run a deal, you should run a deal. Consumers are looking for those sale items right now. Now, with that being said, CPCs are going to be high. With it being such a high volume period, it is very competitive within the Prime Day timeline. So what I would look to do if you are limited on budgets is look to defend your brand. Make sure that you're winning your branded terms, and then also defending your product detail pages, keeping competition out of that, just ensuring that you can capitalize on that consumer search volume.
Absolutely. I know one of the things I talk to brands about all the time is making sure that, especially if they're not in a position to run a deal, protecting their own PDPs from competitors who might be and stealing some of that customer base from them. And I'll pass it over to you, Becky.
Yeah, I think along with the operations, you need to have a strategy behind the products you're promoting, which some of you addressed in the intro question. But I think that Prime Day can be a good opportunity to clear out some old inventory as well, because as Danny said, people are looking for a deal. You really don't want to get saddled with excess storage fees going into Q4. So if there's something you're looking to move, this is a good time. Like if you have a color that's not selling well, just make it discounted. You can also use Prime Day to forecast future demand. So really making sure you have everything in place before you get started, and so that when you get done, your data is clear and it's easy to make decisions for Q3 and Q4. And then I think knowing your numbers is an issue that we see over and over again. Profitability, it's a hot topic in e-commerce right now, but especially knowing that you might have a higher ad budget, just really making sure that you have price ranges that you and your team are okay with for your products. And, that might mean selling at a loss to clear out some inventory. It might mean, you have a lower threshold, but just making sure that you have everything in place so you're not having to make those decisions on the fly and they're coming from a place of a clear head instead of in the moment.
Absolutely. And I think both you and Danielle brought up a really good point just around strategy behind promotions. I think something that's important for brands to recognize, and I'll open this up to the panelists, but I think something for brands to understand is what makes for a good promotion. How much should you be discounting? Where should you be applying those promotions? Are there, best sellers, or Becky, like you said, inventory that you're trying to clear out? So if anyone has anything that they want to add there, that would be great. Wise.
Yeah, I would just say, just from the deal perspective, if you can slash down pricing, the deal badging is going to catch the consumer eye, and that will likely be a sound strategy to push that inventory through.
Awesome. Well, I think we know that many brands are eager to capitalize on the lift from Prime Day, but it's not necessarily productive for every single brand to do, and definitely seen some cases where it can be detrimental. So what are some characteristics of a brand that you would say might not benefit from running Prime Day promotions or getting more aggressive with their spend and their sponsored ad strategy? What kind of brand should maybe play it a little bit more conservatively on Prime Day? Justin, if you have anything there.
I mean, it's hard to pick out full categories of products, but I think there's types of products in every category that would lend itself to not playing well on Prime Day. First of all, I mean, as I said in the beginning, Prime Day is really about short-term gains, right? It's about seeding a larger discovery opportunity for your products often. And so if you have an evergreen brand, products that don't perform well with promotion, if you have like a brand or a product that has low repurchase rates or low brand loyalty, it's definitely a consideration for participating, as other products just will be more successful. Typically, sometimes you end up upside down because the product's just not going to perform no matter what kind of promotion you run.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny, do you have any other insights there?
Yes, I think if we're looking at advertising specifically, if you're not able to run a specific deal, I would look at your historical campaign coverage and focus on that metric. You don't want your ads to turn off during the day so that your products are not visible to the consumer. So even if you don't have that deal badge or strike through pricing, your product still shows while people are shopping.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you are right on the money with that one. So where do we want to go from here? We've spent a lot of time talking a lot about what we should be doing to prepare for Prime Day. I always say, and I always talk to brands about the key to a smooth Prime Day is all about in the preparation. That said, there's still a lot that's going to be done on the day itself. We know that it's still going to be an incredibly busy day for everyone involved. So panelists, what should brands be doing once the big day is here? Danny, I'll pass it on to you to start.
Yes, I think from this group, the main focus is just making sure that your products are operationally sound during the event. So what I would look at prior to Prime Day are your main focus items in stock. You should have really high inventory levels, again, knowing that this is a very high volume shopping time. You also want to make sure from your product detail page that you have 15 or greater reviews on your product. And then you want your product detail pages to be set up properly, making sure you have the correct bullet points, you have a strong title, things along those lines.
Thank you, Danny. Pass it over to Olivia.
Sure. So making sure that you're watching your inventory, as she mentioned before, very closely, making sure you're not running into stock out situations, and your budgets and your spend, like you should very closely follow what your strategy was during Prime. Try not to pivot too much and create new strategies and new budgets kind of off the cuff. I also think one thing that's pretty critical is keeping in touch with your customers during Prime. You're likely to get a huge influx of requests, questions, calls, emails, making sure that you're responding to those and keeping your customers engaged through things like social media. A lot of people are looking at Amazon Live and shoppable content as ways to reach their customers during Prime. And the more engaged you are with that, I think the more successful you'll be overall.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's such an important call out. Justin, what else do you think we should be doing on Prime Day itself?
I like all the suggestions so far. I think probably the one thing is on budgets. Often we think about budgets as the budget for the day of, instead of thinking about the budget spread out before, during, and after. So often the budget, as you think about budget spending for that specific promotion, you should think about it like a bell curve. You need some leading up to budget to introduce the product. You need obviously the bulk of it on Prime Day, but then afterwards you need to have some carryover for all those that didn't take advantage of it that day, but there's still an opportunity for purchasing. So just not thinking about tapping out your entire budget on that specific 24 hours or 36 hours, and really thinking about the day after as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. I know we talk a lot about Prime Day or now Prime 2 days, but really it's Prime Week. There's so much lead in traffic as customers are going to be adding to cart and wanting to do that shopping of what specifically they're looking for, hoping it goes on deal. And then Justin, like you said, there's going to be a lot of customers hanging on after the fact, maybe didn't take advantage of Prime Day itself, or the product they were looking for didn't go on sale over Prime Day. Doesn't mean they're not going to go purchase it in the following.
I mean, it's mimicking very closely Black Friday. Black Friday went from a day, really went from a morning to a, day to a 2 day to a week, and the same thing's happening around Prime Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we see with Amazon starting last year, it's not just going to be Prime Day, but it's also going to be Prime seasons with them launching fall Prime events and other tentpole events.
So true.
Conversely, panel, what should brands not be doing? Danny, what do you think a brand shouldn't be doing on Prime Day or Prime Days?
Yes, you definitely want to make sure that your strategy is set up the week before. I wouldn't recommend making any drastic changes during the event. We find that data is typically lagged and can be incorrect just due to the volume, not only of consumers on the platform, but advertisers getting very aggressive during that time as well. So what I would recommend, making sure you have your budget set up beforehand, that you have your max bids agreed on beforehand. And then what you can do there is, making sure that you're live, that your budgets are not capped out. And then I recommend just shopping the store on Amazon, typing in the keywords that you want to win and ensuring that you do have strong bids, making small adjustments there, but don't do anything too drastic, again, knowing that data is very skewed within the 2 day period.
Absolutely. I think such a common thing that I see on Prime Day is campaigns showing $3, $4, $5 in spend with hundreds of dollars of budgets and showing out of budget. So I think that data lag that we see across the ad console and the Amazon platforms is definitely worth keeping in mind and making sure that we're not being overly reactive based on the data when making decisions.
Write the playbook ahead of time of how you're going to react. Because if you react with emotion, it's either going to be based off of bad data, like you're talking about. I had a client that created a new promotion, tried to launch a new advertising campaign. That advertising campaign required reviews, and it shut down everything because they were panicking to a situation. They thought they weren't getting the traction they were actually getting, and they just changed everything. If you write it down, this is what we're not going to do on Prime Day. Often that helps your team from making big mistakes.
Absolutely. Again, going back to what we were saying before, that preparation is the key, absolute key to a successful Prime Day itself. Olivia, do you have anything else?
No, I would absolutely echo what Justin said. Is, as you make those kind of emotional decisions, it can create a lot of confusion for your customer and for the shopper. And so maintaining that level of consistency is critical during Prime. And again, making sure that you're, responding to requests that are coming in is pretty critical. So absolutely agree with what Justin said.
Yeah, no, on point. I think all of you are right on the money there. Just the more we can do to be prepared, the more we can do to be less reactive, more proactive, I think the more successful every brand will be on the day itself. Really, really great insights there. I do want to shift gears to from Prime Day itself to lead out after Prime Day. There's so much we can learn from Prime Day that's applicable to other tentpole events, primarily Turkey 5, as well as Amazon's new Fall Prime Early Access sale that they launched last year. But before we can talk takeaways, we need to understand how we judge if Prime Day was actually successful or not. So panelists, how do you judge success on Prime Day? What KPIs are you looking at? Do you recommend sellers be paying attention to sales, new to brand metrics, impressions, detail page views, ROAS? What are you judging, Danny, when you're talking to brands about Prime Day?
Yes. So I like to look at year-over-year data. I like to look at total sales as well as new to brand sales, seeing how many new consumers engage with your brand throughout the event. I will say, though, you can't compare apples to apples, Prime Day to Prime Day. Number one, date ranges can be different year over year, and then the competition just continuously increases. So I would look at your average CPCs, see how your cost compared to the year prior, and then how much it costed to acquire any new consumers.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point that you can't just do a straight year-over-year comparison, because Prime Day itself is going to change. It's going to be hard to look directly at the days of Prime Day this year compared to last year. And then just, again, that saturation on the platform, the significant increase in competition, how much it's driving up cost per clicks year over year, even with, like we talked about before, the economic shifts that we're seeing just across the country as a whole right now. Becky, what insights, how do you judge Prime Day? How do you judge success?
Well, here at Ecom Engine, we're all about reviews. So I would say definitely looking at the reviews and ratings that came in around Prime Day. We find that it's a really good opportunity to get reviews, because during Q4, oftentimes people are buying gifts. So sometimes when you request a review, the person that's receiving the review request is actually just the person that purchased it, but not the person that's using it. So you get those really good, authentic reviews, oftentimes like right after Prime Day, and you have 30 days to request those reviews. So in your follow-up, make sure you have a plan for that. And take a look at those reviews, really dive in, identify trends, look for keywords, things that are sticking out that might not be in your listing, and make sure you're optimizing everything for Q4. Like, use that as an opportunity to just build on what you have and keep that momentum going through the rest of the year. And then I would say, a lot of times we get attached to things that sometimes aren't working. And back to the sell-through or the sales metrics and getting into sell-through rate, just really look at your inventory. And if you have things that have been sitting out there that are not selling, it's a good time to think about what you want to do going into the final half of the year. Do you want to keep paying for those to be at FBA, or is it time to maybe remove them or, do something else with them?
Yeah, I love the word momentum that you use there. How do we continue to keep customers engaged after Prime Day itself? How do we leverage retargeting both on platform and using some of those follow-up email opportunities that Amazon offers for bringing customers back to the platform, generating reviews, keeping them in the system? If your brand is taking advantage of subscribe and save, how do you get them to come back and subscribe to your products and continue those orders going? And then bring back in Turkey 5 and get them to purchase whenever you're running deals again in the other big shopping season. Justin, how do you judge success on Prime Day? What are those KPIs that you're looking at?
I think the KPIs that have already been stated have been really good. I think more is of the mindset of, how are you measuring this? Are you measuring this as a top of funnel event or as a bottom of funnel event? I've kind of been consistent here about that. I think Prime Day is a great top of funnel event. It's great for discovery, customer acquisition, finding new customers that are out there without the profit attached to it. And so if you're measuring a top of funnel event, you measure that different than a bottom of funnel. You measure that more by, impressions and kind of brand awareness versus actual purchases and things like that. Although, of course, everything else is important too. I think if you look at kind of awareness and discovery and customer acquisition as your key, it just drives different KPIs.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think for the vast majority of brands, that's how we should be viewing Prime Day as a top of funnel event, brand awareness, really introducing customers to your brand and getting them locked in.
But when you first do Prime Day, you don't think of it that way. You think of Prime Day as a bottom of funnel event, not a top of funnel event. And I just think it's a mistake if you don't see it that way.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I really think bottom of funnel that really is, it's most easy to drive ROAS, easy to drive sales really for the big name brands. And when you're not one of those large name brand customers are seeking out, you should really be using it as an opportunity to raise that brand awareness and getting them into the funnel, getting them into your brand ecosystem and investing in buying your products. To close us out, I just want to ask a question to all of our panelists here. What are the most important learnings we can take from Prime Day, and how do you recommend applying them in the coming weeks and months after Prime Day to take advantage of expanded reach and those potential new customers? Justin, I'll just flip it right back to you since
I think first of all, you got to know, did you have issues? I mean, you gotta have some kind of post-mortem on this, right? Did you have issues? I'm sure you did have issues. Document the issues that you did have, because you definitely had them. And then, really write down how you're going to prevent that moving forward. You got other events coming up like Black Friday to fix some of this during, right? Whether it's a promotion that didn't go live, you had inventory problems, insufficient ad budgets. I mean, the list goes on, right? But moving beyond that, it's really about capitalizing on the reach that you have. The remarketing campaigns, repurchase campaigns, and really consider the other marketing initiatives, things like the targeted email campaigns to pull those customers back in from those tofu events.
Yeah, using some of those sponsored display and DSP tactics to really keep your customers engaged and keep your ads in front of them, especially if you're, CPG or any other product that customers are going to be purchasing on a regular basis, wanting them to continue that brand loyalty to you and come back to you.
Keep an eye on the other. Keep an eye on the other retailers as they grow, right? Amazon, Walmart, Target, both having big Prime Days this year. My guess is they'll be significantly a bit larger than they were last year. Just keep an eye on them.
I think that's an incredible call out, and maybe something we didn't quite touch on enough is that Prime Day really isn't just an Amazon event now. It really is. I think we saw this last year with Walmart's. I believe it was either Walmart's or Target's deals for days coming in. I believe a few weeks, if not a month, before Prime Day itself, and really trying to capture some of that traffic from Prime Day itself. So, how do we continue to, focus? I think Amazon is really still beating all these other competitors, but making sure that you're also taking advantage of the other e-commerce platforms when they are stepping up their game as well. Becky, what are some of the learnings that you're taking from Prime Day to apply towards coming months?
Sure. Well, I think, capitalizing on the increased audience. If you're brand registered, using Amazon tailored audiences to retarget recent buyers, and just making sure that you're setting yourself up for a good Q3 and Q4. We're really sliding into the second half of the year here. It feels early because it's May, but if you're not really thinking about Q4 during Prime Day, you're kind of behind. So I think you can also just really make sure that your listings are communicating what they need to communicate to buyers. I know I've mentioned that a couple of times, but we see it all the time with reviews, people that don't keep things updated. Your manufacturer changes something and you start getting negative reviews because the buyer's not getting what they think they are. and just really making sure that any way you're communicating with buyers in your ads, your product detail page, wherever, that you're just being as clear as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that word retargeting, and then, I think you're right on the money with consistency. I think that's so important. Avoiding any of those pitfalls that can lead to negative reviews, negative follow-up, and then having that difficulty of keeping customers engaged with you going forward. Olivia, do you have anything that you want to add here?
Sure, a couple things. I think, the most obvious thing that we've all talked about is this is a really great time to stress test for Q4. So getting the data from Prime from those days to make sure that you can build strategies for Q4 during peak. This is an incredible opportunity to gather that data, your inventory data, your sales data, your customer data, and use that to really be successful during peak. And furthermore, internally stress testing your systems, looking at the cross-functional organizations that are involved in making this successful is really important. Were your warehouse teams ready to ship orders as quickly as your customers expected it to? Did your tech stack support your needs? Are you still manually entering orders and manually resolving and reconciling issues with your warehouses? So taking a deep dive into your tech stack, the things that you learned from Prime is really important, because Q4 is, like you said a little bit earlier, Becky, right around the corner. And you want to make sure you use everything that you've learned during Prime to be successful.
It's absolutely amazing how fast Prime Day sneaks up on us. And then before we know it, we're already preparing for Fall Prime and then Turkey 5.
Yeah. And it's a huge opportunity to use the data and the learnings to be successful. Just 6 months from now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's so true, not just thinking about this from an advertising, from a sales perspective, but also from that operational standpoint. Like you said, making sure your inventory is solid, making sure that you're able to ship inventory on time to Amazon, that it's hitting there, that all of that other piece of the puzzle is really, buttoned up as much as possible. And Danny, I'll let you close this out.
All right. So as everyone has mentioned, the second half of the year is very high volume. Not only Q4 and Turkey 5, we have the potential of a second Prime Day again this year. So what I would recommend is take risks within Prime Day. Look to expand your targeting, maybe target different things that you have not in the past, and then look to see where you convert. If something does really well that you haven't tested, then utilize that in the second half of the year, especially dialing down on Turkey 5 and Q4.
I love that. I absolutely love the idea of testing. The more A/B tests we can run, the more knowledge you can learn, the more you can learn what does and doesn't work, the better off you'll be in the future, especially again with that Turkey 5 coming up right around the corner. So this was a really insightful panel. I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. I know I've been doing this for 8 years or so now, but I still learn a lot every year when we run these Prime Day panels. So Danny, Olivia, Justin, Becky, thank you all for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much, Eric, and yes, to our entire panel for sharing so much expertise. We're not quite done yet, and actually we have exclusive access to one of our recently released reports. If you stay on with us through the Q&A, we'll be launching it just after. But before we dive into Q&A, if you're interested in talking with our teams after the session today, we have a poll live right now. If you toggle over from chat to polls in order to, you can let us know via that poll if you're interested in having a follow-up conversation. All right, and we're going to jump into our Q&A. We've had some fantastic questions come through. And so our first is going to be from Denise, who is wondering, what advice do you have for a brand new to Amazon product to max opportunity? They have in parentheses, one competitor has been doing ads for at least 6 months. This is both for Prime Day and then also overall being a new brand.
I'll jump in. I'll just say, I think it's really important to have your listing set up for success. So making sure that you're keyword optimized, that everything is, ready to be competitive, and then really working on driving those reviews. When we've talked about retail readiness, you're looking at about 15 good reviews to be retail ready on Amazon. So it's crucial to get those. You can join programs like Amazon Vine. You can send request to review messages, and I'm happy to talk more about review strategy offline if you'd like. But yeah, I think getting reviews is crucial for a newly launched product.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that as well, from an ads perspective, we advise that you don't start advertising on products until you have around the 15 review mark. So what I would do is shoot for that, focus on your review strategy, and then once you hit that 15 review count, then I would look at what your competitor is doing well. You could also look at advertising your product on their product detail page to get in front of their consumers, and just really focusing in on the sound advertising strategy after you have strong reviews.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Anyone else want to weigh in on Denise's question about advice for a new brand on Amazon?
I like what was been said about it's almost always about fundamentals, right? There's no tricks or hacks. It always starts with good fundamentals, which is great product content, thinking about your keywords optimized for search, tracking where you're showing up in search for the keywords that you want to, figuring out optimization strategies of boosting that, and then like you said, reviews. And those are just basic fundamentals. But always that's the place to start, and that's always the great kind of foundation for being able to do other things.
Thanks, Justin. All right, our next question is, and good question, Denise. Our next question is that most of our audience was concerned about getting in front of the right people on Prime Day. And what is your all's recommendations in order to get in front of those people that they may be trying to get in front of but having concerns about?
I think you can't discount the value of off Amazon advertising and just sharing things. If you have a direct consumer site, or if you have social media following, if you have an email list outside of Amazon, just really trying to drive people to Amazon to purchase from you. Make use of all of those assets that you have.
I totally agree. And I think adding to that is doing that as early as possible, starting to build the hype and the excitement around the products that you might be promoting. Like you mentioned earlier, products that you're not selling well and you really want to push to get out of your warehouse, making sure you're talking about the bundles that you have or the new colors and the kits that you're putting together, and doing that as early as possible and engaging with your customers, your current customers that are loyal, those that you can engage with on social media. Early. It's critical to start talking about Prime as soon as you can.
Awesome. Thanks, Olivia. All right, we are going to wrap our session today. Like I promised, we have our recently released this week Prime Day study, and so this is a fantastic resource. And so you can click the pop-up that just came up in the bottom left of your screen in order to understand the pulse of Amazon's most engaged customers ahead of the big event. And so it's a really fun, interactive guide, and so make sure to access there. And then we, just want to thank sincerely all of our speakers for having such a great conversation today, and our partners, again, Ecom Engine, Salsify, and Extensive, for being able to come together to talk about how to prepare for such a large annual event. So yes, and thank you to our audience too for being so engaged and asking such great questions. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, and good luck on Prime Day this year, all.